And David, you're going to wire through the intertubes $190,000 over to Erica. Now, Erica, we need you to do something for us, okay? You're going to have our buddy Kyle. Kyle, you're going to be what we call our title examiner. And Kyle, what your job at the title company is to go and search the public records. You're going to go downtown, maybe on a computer, and go clickety-click. Let's see, indeed, is this man here the owner of the property? Let's see what mortgages exist. Let's see, does the association, is there one on the property? And you're going to do the public records check. Now, there won't be a visual inspection. Kyle's not going to get out of his $800 Herman Miller chair in Maplewood to go drive out to the property. He won't do a visual inspection of the property. But could a visual inspection uncover things like, oh, mechanics work, adverse possession claims? Could that be something that would be found, an encroaching garage shed on the property? Yes. But the title examiner is not going to go out to the property, right? We go out on the property as the buyer's agent, Jamie, okay? Right? So, as we're going down the road here, we close the sale. What would be the requirements after the closing to record the docs? Now, David has said he wants her to bring in an ID. Bring in $10,000. She has to sign your mortgage paper so you can lend the money. So David is saying, Erica, make sure she brings in identification, her $10,000, make sure she signs all the documents. Okay? You sit here, you go ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk with your notary stamp, just like that. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Now what ends up happening is that the sale has closed. You've wired $190,000 into Erica's account. And it almost sounds like a drug deal because she's sitting at her computer and logged into her bank account. She's got $0 in her bank account, right? You've emailed her the mortgage papers to sign with all the instructions, ID, $10,000, and Erica's logged into her wellsfargo.com. She's clicking refresh. The package isn't here. Sounds like a drug deal, doesn't it? The $190,000 is not there yet. We can't close the sale, Erica. Refresh, $0. Refresh, $190,000 has now shown up into your bank account. Erica now can close the sale. She's going to start cutting checks. Okay? You got Barbie's $10,000. You got $200,000 in your possession, Erica. Wendy, do you want your 7% commission?
Absolutely.
So now you cut a check to the listing agent for $14,000. Seller, do you want your net proceeds of $42,171? You get your money. Now we're going to close the sale and record certain documents. What are the requirements to record documents? Okay. First off, when we're looking at the recording of documents, it must be signed and notarized. I need us to identify what a notary does and does not do. A notary does not guarantee documents. Let's highlight that one. He or she simply witnesses and authenticates the signing of documents. So here's the beauteous thing about this team. We go out there, that person who's handling all this $200,000, they went through an 8-hour course, no exam, no bonding, no insurance. They're a licensed closer. I want to do that, she said.
You have to pay a fee for it.
I'll do it.
And Eric, are you charging $300, $400 for your fee?
$5.
$500? You're really getting into the real estate spirit, aren't you? So you're going to charge $500 to sit there and watch her sign the instructions that you've given, collect documentation and so forth. That's all they're going to do and notarize the documents. To record, in order to make the deed that Dave is going to sign to give ownership of the property now to our buyer, does it have to be notarized to be valid? Remember when Tim was talking about this on Saturday afternoon? Does a deed need to be notarized to be valid?
No.
No. So just delivered and accepted, an competent grantor, identifiable grantee, words that convey ownership, a legal description of the property, consideration. That's all we need. You take a blank piece of paper and you write one blipping sentence on it. I, Dave, do hereby grant and convey to Barbie, Lot 1, Block 1, Lovely Estates for $200,000. And we do it on 8.5 by 14 paper because it's legal. And then you sign it. You get the $200,000, you give her the deed to the property, shazizzle on the fizzle, we just had ourselves a closing. That's it. So what happens now is that if we're going to record the document, because now Erica's got to go downtown to Ramsey County, and she's going to record this, it's got to be notarized. It's going to have to be notarized. And we have some other items that need to be done. We need the mailing address of the grantee, the person who's receiving it, the person who's going to ask for the recording. Ooh, the county tax assessor's parcel number. Is this a legal description of real estate? An assessor's parcel number? No. Is a street address a legal description of real estate?
No.
No. Is meets and bounds a method of legal description?
Yes.
Is a rectangular survey a method of legal description?
Yes.
Is the replevin map a legal description? No, I just made it up. So as you're going through the test, if you see something like that that you are not familiar with, it's never the right answer, okay? A recorded plat method, true or false, that's a legal description. True, now you're all kind of gun shy. But that's a recorded, plat is a legal description. Next, we need the deed, for a deed rather, we need the name and the address of the person to whom the tax statements are going to be mailed. And then lastly, a declaration of value. Let's write this in. It's called a certificate of reasonable value, also known as the CRV. Certificate of reasonable value, also known as the CRV for short. There's going to be some reasons we use this. Okay, the CRV. Watch what happens. When Dave signs over this document called the Certificate of Reasonable Value, it's going to have his social security number on it. Whoa, this is a sensitive document because it's got sensitive information about you. Why on God's green do you think the government wants to know you sold it for $200,000 and wants to know your social? What do they want from him? Taxes. You see, there's something called capital gains profit. You see, you bought this house back in 1979 when you were 2 years old. No, even before you were born. So you bought this house for like $70,000. You're selling it for $200,000. He's making $130,000 profit. Do you think they might want to tax him on that? It's going to have his name, his social, how much he sold the property for. So this is going to be recorded because they do want to tax this person for any profit they made on the building. Now luckily, were you living in this as your home?
Yes.
Whew! You get a little deferment. We're going to talk about that one tomorrow. Okay, there's a little, what they call capital gains tax exclusion. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Okay? And then the transfer tax will be collected, and there's going to be a taxation that the seller is going to have to pay on this property called a state deed tax. It's usually paid by the seller. Let's highlight that. Usually paid by the seller. Help me out, team. What was the document that the seller signed that gave ownership to the buyer? The deed. He signs and pays for the state deed tax. For those of you in other states, you might have heard it called documentary stamps, transfers tax. In Minnesota, we call it the state deed tax. Now, it's going to be based upon the sales price or estimated market value if it was a gift. Another tax rate that we're going to talk about is, what is the tax rate? Here's the problem I have with this. When you go to the test, they shouldn't be asking you questions about private companies. Okay? They want to test you on laws. This is what they should be testing you on. And here's the problem. If I'm in Hennepin County, Ramsey County, the state deed tax rate is different than what it is in Washington County. It's different than what it is in Itasca County. It's different by state. I think if they ask you a question about what is the state deed tax rate, I gotta tell you, I think it's a fictitious question because there's no standard tax rate. Make sense? So what's going to happen when I take the test? As you're taking the exam, they might throw in 5 dummy questions. They don't count for your grade or against your grade, but they're just testing the readability. If you see a state deed tax, like what is the state deed tax rate? It's a phony baloney question. Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is so you get it right, just to alleviate that test anxiety. Okay? Next, the recording fee is static. It does not change. Please highlight this. It is $46 per doc. That would be a good test question. There's going to be a second tax possible on this property, the mortgage registry tax. Now watch what happens here. What was the document again that the seller signs to give ownership of the property to the buyer? The deed. What tax do they pay? The state deed tax. What is the document now that Barbie is going to sign that says, okay, we'll lend you the money of $190,000 from the mortgage company? She's going to sign a mortgage on a promissory note. So there's a mortgage registry tax. Guess who pays that? The buyer. So let's identify, kind of like Vanna White on the Wheel of Fortune, okay? There's going to be certain requirements that the seller is going to have to pay and the buyer is going to have to pay. The way we work it is that the seller signs the deed, they pay the state deed tax. The buyer is signing mortgage papers, they're going to pay the mortgage registry tax. How much is the mortgage registry tax if she pays cash? See, we got to figure out.
There is no mortgage, so it's zero.
So there is no mortgage, is going to be zero. Here's some of the things we want to identify. How much is it? What are they computing it against? Okay, now if I'm looking at the state deed tax rate, let's go to the seller side first. Take 0.0033 times the sales price. 0.0033 times the sales price. Pero niños, cuidado, be careful children, because in Hennepin County it's 0.0034. In Itasca County it's 0.00315. It varies. This I think is a fictitious question on the test. Mortgage registry tax, take 0.0023, multiply it by the mortgage amount. Bless you. I need us to highlight these boxes here. Seller state deed tax, buyer mortgage registry tax. I need you to remember that for the test. Another little tidbit I want to give you, a little helpful tip. You see on the bottom of the page, helpful tip. That 0.23% is the same as 0.0023, which is $2.30 per thousand. It's the same stupid thing. All right? So the way I would do this is multiple. Again, I'm going to give you a little math here. If we have the seller selling their property for $200,000 times 0.0033, dude, your tax is $660 bucks. That's what you're going to be paying in tax. Or you could compute it as a percentage, or you could do it per thousand that you're going to be borrowing the money on. All right? So the question becomes, any questions on that stuff? The question becomes, how does the buyer get what we call marketable title? Now there's a whole paragraph in there that we want to look at and identify a few things about what we call marketable title. And I just want to read aloud some of the stuff in this first line or two. Marketable title is ownership free of reasonable doubt as to who has a claim on the property. So let's think about those words. Does the owner have a claim on the property, a claim of ownership? Yeah. Does his mortgage company have a claim on the property?
No.
They have a claim. We call that when somebody has the right to secure repayment of a debt, they put a what on the property? A lien on the property, so there's a claim. See, it's a general broad brushstroke. So all these people got claims. Does the county have a claim on this property? Property tax liens. See, all of those folks could have a claim on the property, and what we want to see is there's no doubt he owns the property. We want to make sure that when we look at this property, when Barbie is closing on the sale, we need Kyle, our closer, examiner, we need you to tell Barbie, well, who's got right, where, when, how. We need to know this stuff. It's like the time Carrie called me up here at the school, my wife, and she was all in a froth. She's freaking out. And like I said, we have this old Victorian house, and she's freaking out. I said, what's up? She goes, there's somebody on our front porch. I said, we have this big wraparound from, you know, those old Victorian houses with the big wraparound porches. And I said, who's on our porch? You know, being the defensive husband. And I said, who's on our porch? The Xcel Energy guy, the power company. And I said, oh, well, he has every right to be here. What? He's looking on the side of the house, the front of the house. He's all walking on. Does the Xcel Power Company have the right to walk onto your property? Yeah. She wanted to go out and unlock the Glock 9mm and go after this guy. She can't. He has the right to walk on the property. So Barbie, when you buy a house, do you like having electricity? Gas? Electric? Oh, so when you were buying this here property, you're cool with the fact that Xcel Energy, Menegasco, and the regional water supplier can walk on the property to service the meter, read the meter, and all that junk. See, when I buy houses, there might be some stuff I want to have cleared. How are you feeling when now, Kyle, you prepare the report? Kyle prepares the report, and all of a sudden we find out the following, that there's a mortgage, the taxes have been unpaid for 3 years. Ruh-roh. We got a bit of a problem here. Do you want to take over possession of those claims of 3 years of unpaid taxes, a mortgage? No. What we have now is an unmarketable title to the property unless the seller can clear those issues. Let's keep going forward in our reading. The buyer's goal here is to obtain marketable title free from claims that could encumber the title, called clouds on title. Highlight that one. Clouds on title. A cloud is a rainy day on our sale. Wendy, Jamie, real estate agents, you're not making a closing today. We have found a cloud on the title that cannot be removed. Okay? So here's what's going to happen is we want to see what the skinny is on the title. So I had this one transaction going back many moons ago, and I said to the seller, it was a really bad situation. Her ex-husband left her with the house and children. She was losing the property in foreclosure. She was all in a froth. She called me up and she said, can you come talk with me about my situation? I said, sure. So I drive out to Minnetonka and I talk with her and I said, so tell me first off about your property tax situation, your #1 lien on the property. She says, I haven't paid it for 2 years. My taxes are $20,000 a year. Wow. Can the government, if you don't pay your property taxes, foreclose and take your property? Yes. So then I said, well, talk to me some more about your situation. What's up with your mortgage? Different color, because this is a voluntary lien. And she said, I have a mortgage on my property of $1,400,000. I said, wow, that's kind of steep. She says, anything else? Now, when I pulled up to this property, 2-story, it's like Bear Path out of Needham Prairie. There was a gate. You had to push a code. The gate arm comes up. I drove into this subdivision, and they have an association that puts the dock in Lake Minnetonka, and it's a single-family house. But there's some group of people who cut the grass, put the docks in, things like this. Common interest community. Ooh, we have ourselves an association. I said, have you been paying your association liens? Now, if she hasn't paid her property taxes for 2 years, do you think she's paying her association lien? Well, she hasn't paid that for 2 years. There's another $4,000. I said, talk to me some more. Is there anything else affecting this property? I don't think so. I didn't like the way she said that. Now, I did my comparative market analysis. Barry's going to talk about this in just a little bit as we talk about appraisals. What we do as real estate agents is called CMAs, comparative market analysis. We just compare it to other properties. I went out to that area of Minnetonka, and I said, uh-oh, the value of this house is only worth $800,000. Is this a problem?
Yes.
We got ourselves a little problem here. We're a little short. Okay? Are the tax people okay? Tim, they're going to get paid regardless. Okay? Is the mortgage company going to be hurting? Oh yeah, we don't even have enough to pay off even half of this. So I said to this young lady, is there anything else? And she said, why don't you go talk to my husband, my ex-husband? So I tried nailing this guy down. Meanwhile, we have Shelving's offer comes in, and the buyer's agent has an offer. Now, in comes Jamie with her buyer, and they've made an offer of $770,000. True story. These are the real numbers. I'll pull it up on the MLS in course 2. So they come in and make an offer of $770,000.